And today we're going to get into one of the crates. I guess you could call it Muscle Bike Week. So the cotton picker, this is one that I put together after I got it just to put it away. But I'm going to go ahead and get to this one. I had the saddle redone. This is the one that came with it, which is not paired correct. It's got the sparkle in it. So I do have the white one with the smooth white that just got redone. And I am going to go ahead and switch out some more paired correct shock absorbers. These are kind of a silver painted finish instead of that matte chrome. And I am going to go ahead and work on the front wheel. It seemed like it wasn't spinning properly, and the spokes are all really loose on it, so I was going to go ahead and get to it. I went ahead and took out the little brake caliper, and then inside of there has got the hub with the bearings. So I'm going to go ahead and change that out. There's the axle and then some of the nuts and bolts on this side. Here's another one that I'm going to be working on. This is for my 69 orange crate that I'm building. And so I used it as an example to see exactly how this should work. Because this thing was pretty loose. The drum brake was, there was a gap. So I wanted to see what the heck was going on in there. So I should be able to get it right. And then I'll go ahead and true the rim, because these spokes are very loose. It looks like it was relaced. Again, this bike was restored several years ago, and everything on it's really bling. If you notice, look at all the chrome parts. So it was all redone, but it was never really set up to ride. It was just a show bike. This sprocket I replaced, they had a chromed out one that didn't even work. It just looked great. So I'm gonna go through the whole bike and make sure it's functional, because my number one goal is that these bikes can ride. So let's go ahead and get on it. I went ahead and cleaned the rotor. So that's just like a car rotor right there. It looks to be in pretty good shape. And then here is the calipers. And this works just exactly like a car. So if you see right here is where the cable pulls it. So when you pull the cable, that activates see those springs right there? And it opens up that caliper right there. You press it against that rotor. So pretty cool. This has a Schwinn tire on it, but it's not the original Superior that they put on these bikes. But still, it's a nice tire. It's got the exact same thread. So it looks just like one. But if I can find a Superior, I will put it on it, because they definitely look cool. So we'll go ahead and re-grease it. I got all the axle parts getting the grease there. I do have bearings to replace. So we'll go ahead and get that. And I'll go ahead and give it just a little polish as well before I put it together. But everything's cleaned out. I went ahead and polished this a little bit. And that really cleaned up nicely. So those things will definitely, they're alloys, so they shine up real nice and they never rust. Here's what they usually look like when they're not tended to. These are the add-on drum brakes. They're super cool. So as you can see the difference. So I will do that to that one at some point when I get to it. Well, here's the example I was talking about. Check it out. This tire has the original Superior, or this rim. See that right there? So that's the original 1970s front tire. These are really sweet. They're made in the US for Schwinn, and then these are also Schwinn, but they're not the real deal. But they work. Looks nice and shiny on the outside, but looking at it on the inside, it looks like whoever laced these wheels did a really bad job. 'Cause look at that nipple sticking out. And actually, I was trying to get it somewhat straight, because I could tell that it wasn't centered. It was way over to one side. So I was trying to loosen one side and tighten the other. And this one right here, you can tell it's either too long. I don't know if they're the right size spokes. They appear to be, because these are kind of short little spokes for these crate drum wheels. So when I was playing with this one, it just went right through that tube and popped the tire. So I knew that was what it was, but I didn't realize that all of them were like that. So we'll check it out a little closer tomorrow. So it turns out that, at least this one anyway, the thread is stripped. So if you try to tighten it, you think you're tightening it, but nothing's happening. So I took it out, and then I could actually push it through. Like I could start threading it, and then I could just pull it out. So obviously it's not gonna hold in place. As you can see, you know, they need to be adjusted. So I'm gonna actually, I see these spokes for sale all the time, so you can release your front wheel. But I think either they're a little bit too long, but I'm gonna see if I can get a set. They're not that expensive, and then I might just start over. Another rainy day here in South Florida. This Memorial Day weekend was totally blown with rain. Well, give me a chance to stay indoors and do stuff. So anyway, doing the bearing overhaul, I went ahead and put new bearings in there. Went ahead and got a whole new set of the quarter size bearings. Greased it, put the cover on it, and I'm gonna flip it over. And again, there's 9 per side. So I totally packed it big time. You can hardly see the bearings. And then I put some on the actual cover itself. I'm gonna put that in there, wipe it down, and then I'll go ahead and put the axle through and then do the adjustments. All right, well, I guess while I'm waiting for my spokes and new nipples, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rust from the outside of the rim. Went ahead and put this stuff on it because it's a quick half-hour dissolver, and if it doesn't do it, then I'll use my other stuff. But it's worked really well and it's quick, so I'm gonna have some dinner, let this do its magic, then I'll come back and wipe it off, brush it off. Looks like it took off most of the surface rust around the perimeter. However, some of the areas where it looks like there was some chrome loss, not much you can do with them. So if you see some of these other areas right there, so those are pretty much cooked. However, I am going to give it a coat of my Loctite. I think the Loctite will at least make it look a little better. And a little coat like that will pretty much do it. So I don't know how much of that will, I know none of the chrome will come back, obviously. It'll definitely at least, you know, make it look a little less corroded. All right, and there's the final rust removal. It did take off some of that, you know, crusty, scabby stuff. Now that's just the corroded steel. A little cleaner. So now he's waiting on the spoke, and while I'm waiting for that, I went ahead and put my spare front drum on that one just to get the bike down, because I want to get this done over here. So I went ahead and took out that banana seat. I'll put the correct one on there, and then I'm going to replace this shock absorber. You might not be able to tell on the image here, but that's kind of a glossy grayish silver. And I'm gonna put what, this is also reproduction, but it's more of the same kind of finish that you saw on the originals. It's more of a matte type of silver, so that'll definitely look better, or at least a little bit more. See right there the difference. And they are a brand new reproduction. I'm gonna keep this hardware because the one in the baggie looks exactly the same, so I'll just leave that on there. All right, well, I'm glad to have that on there now. And I got it pretty even on both sides. I'll tweak it out once I actually put the saddle on it. Hopefully my spokes will be in by the end of the week and I can get on it. And here's the new saddle. So I went ahead and polished the hardware on it, the reflector, and got the nice and polished out. And then he went ahead and put the solid white with the black stripe, which is very correct for the cotton picker. I also noticed they put these yellow dots here that aren't really the true gold dots. Looks like they were probably refinished. They probably didn't have parts when they did this, so I'll get the actual gold dot that will make that look more genuine. Also the pedals, the whole time I thought they were the actual crate pedals, but those have the smaller head on them, so those were actually seen on other bikes prior to the crates. And I probably will try to find a pair. I did find one pair for my orange crate that I'm working on. Still a really good looking bike, you know. I have to say the finish and the screen they did on it is really quality throughout the whole bike. So I'm pretty happy with it. You know, it's a really sweet bike and I can't wait to get it out and ride it around like I do all my other bikes. So I decided to go ahead and change the seat post that was on there. It was a reproduction, and I seen these on eBay and they sell for about like 20 bucks, but they're definitely not the real deal. So I found one. As you can see the difference, those had the tapered end and their, you know, workmanship's much better. And also I will change out these bolts here. These are not the Q bolts. So I did order some nickel plated Q bolts that look really cool. And I always noticed that this was not authentic. That's a paint to create that look. So these are genuine gold dot brake levers. These are basically modified. And if you see one of them, it used to be red. So somebody went to the trouble of painting those and getting a color that was really light or pretty close. You know, if you had a glance, you can't tell unless, you know, you're familiar with these. And you can tell those are more of a translucent metallic versus just a solid, you know, yellowish color. So, and these actually levers look really good. So I'm just gonna switch out levers. All right, so I brought it to the shop in the living room. And here's where we're at with it now. So I was able to do all the little details. There's a new saddle. Looks cool. I will straighten out that reflector. I put these temporary bolts. These are actually off my fastback and they're genuine, but they're not Q bolts. And I got some coming, so I'll put those on once they come in, so those aren't tightened yet, but I still wanted to get the angle of it, and that's where how it should sit. And you know, those run pretty parallel. I backed up the fender just a bit because this is a reproduction fender, so it fits a little differently. So I had to modify the bracket just a little bit to get it to back up as much as possible to make that run as even as possible with that sissy bar. And then you can adjust that too by the way that you put the angle on the banana seat. So I can actually lower it a hair and bring it this way a little bit. But that's done. Looks much better. I got the real seat post on it. And went ahead and put these on. Check this out. So these are the real deal gold dot brake levers. And they're pretty nice. They look just as good as the last ones, except they don't have that yellow dot that those guys painted. And went ahead and lubed the cables. Got it sitting up like this so it doesn't drip on the carpet. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change out that pivot bolt. That was one of the first things I noticed when I got the bike, that was just kind of a big looking bolt that didn't really have a correct fit on it. But I was able to get one online on eBay, and here's what they're supposed to look like. See, they're more streamlined. Definitely that'll make a big difference on how that looks right there. So go ahead and change that out. There you can see it was a bad reproduction because it looks like it almost like the, if I see the difference of the size and the color. So if it's a reproduction, it's not a very good one and it's short. So hopefully this thing didn't thread out this thing here. Should be okay, but because I had to basically thread it out all the way out. So, but yeah, that'll definitely make a big impact on how that Springer fork looks. Right back on the stand. You have to bring it back out here. I tried changing that bolt, and turns out that bolt won't work on that particular Springer fork. So I have a couple extra ones, and looking closer at this fork that this bike had, it doesn't appear to be a genuine Schwinn article. The rake on it's different than the real Schwinn ones. So I'm just gonna go with one of these that I bought. The actual pivot bolt that you see right there would not fit on these threading, or you know, that's probably the original crappy bolt that came with that fork. So you know, I'm just gonna change it out and just put, you know, a genuine Springer on it, just so the bike looks more authentic. It was like this, has, you know, very little grease. And what was really shocking is the bottom didn't have any grease at all. Look at it, that's the bottom. But again, this bike was never really a rider, ever. So they just put it together, you know, for window dressing, it looks like. And I've just about corrected almost everything on it. Again, I already did the bottom bracket and changed the sprocket. That was the first thing I did on when I first got it set up. Looks like that's probably gonna be the last thing. I got the brakes working fine. That drum brake's gonna be great once I get it together. But anyway, I do have these two forks. I'm trying to decide which one to put on it. Because these bikes, when kids had these, they rode them hard. You know, they popped wheelies, they skidded on their slicks, you know, jumped on ramps. These bikes took a beating to these kids. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go with this one here. Seems to have a little bit cleaner overall parts on it. So it's a hot, sunny June day here in South Florida. So finally the rain Went away after 3 days in a row of rain. So back to be here in the heat. All right, so I went ahead and rebuilt. See if you can tell the difference of these two. See the rake on the other one? So this one right here is an original one. This is a 1970 Springer fork off a pea picker. And this one right here is a reproduction. This is the one that came on my cotton picker. And actually I was able to finally get that bolt on there, so it looks much better now. But comparing the two, they're almost identical, as you can see. Some of the differences that I see is that the chrome on the original one seems to be more polished. See that? Here's the other one. Even though it's nice chrome, it's got almost like an orange peel effect to it. Not quite as brilliant as that mirror shine there. So that's one of the differences. And then the other ones, basically these look about the same. You know, both of these pieces. The only difference I see is the rake on the fork. There we go. See, so the rake on the fork is definitely more pronounced, as you can see. And usually you know, more pronounced rake is a nicer look, but it will throw out that front tire a little bit further. So I'm just gonna go with the standard traditional Springer fork to, you know, make sure that the bike looks right. Alrighty, well, we're gonna go ahead and put this headset on, attach this, and we'll make this thing happen. Here's my other one. You can see this part is like any other head tube. Steer tube goes through there. The only difference is that now your Springer fork's gonna go on top of that, and then you put the key washer and the rest of the headset tools. So I'll go ahead and do that next. But this thing here hangs there for the little fender. That's what that attachment there is. So that's pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and get the rest of it on. Put the key washer and the lock nut. Oh boy, I almost got my first dent there. See, this is the thing with these bikes. When they turn, they put a dent or a scratch right on your paint. So that was the one flaw that Schwinn should have had it so this washer locked up right about there, because you don't have to go any further than that, and then that would have prevented that. Because if you look at all the crates out there, they all have a little scratch right where that cable is. So luckily that cable was right there, because the thing just turned right into it. So I am going to put some foam right now just to protect it. It's got some really nice S bolts on it. It's got authentic glossy chrome, and there's a clip there for your brake cable to go down to the drum right there. That right there attaches to the drum as well, into this piece. And then there's your cable for the brake. So it's an awesome design. This bike, again, the crates were probably the coolest bike out there when they came out. And if you didn't have one, man, you sure wanted one. I was one of those kids actually when these came out that could never get one. And my neighbor, Jimmy Jones actually was his whole name. He was a funny little kid. He slid into my driveway with his lemon peeler in 1972, and I was just like freaking out. I was like, wow, you got it. I had a Huffy. But man, this is so cool. All right, we'll go ahead and put the bars on it, and then we'll put that spare tire on so we can put her down again and take it back in the house, because really this bike's pretty much done except for some of the little things I needed to finish up, including this rim. Still never got my spokes. I was hoping I'd get them this weekend, but it seemed like the stuff that I want the most never shows up. I got other stuff that I order after that already, but not this. All right, so this will work for now. I'm thinking about coming up with something like this, except not as bulky and big, but basically it does the same thing. Now, if you notice, that protects the frame on both sides. All right, we got the fender on. And that went on pretty easy. Just attaches right to that drop down. And you can make sure that that is fitting inside that little U there for the cable attachment. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and get the handlebars on it and then put that front wheel on it so we can put her down and play with it a little bit more. All right, and the bars are on. and that's about the height that I see most of the examples I've seen. They have a little line that gives you like the maximum height, so you have to put it at least there. So that's right where I see most of the examples. All right, so I went ahead and polished my spare. Went ahead and just polish up the drum, got the spokes cleaned up, and did the S7 rim. Chrome's really good. It had a little bit of rust, but nothing a little bit of evaporust, and my other gel won't take care of. All right, so I went ahead and adjusted the limiting screws on the derailleur. You need to tighten that one up right there, and that actually keeps it from going any further than it is right there. The other one was fine. And also these are, basically the shifters are pretty much just like any shifter. They're friction shifters. And this bolt was not tightened, so they kept, it wouldn't stay on the gear you went to. You just went back because it wasn't tight. While I was in there, I found a little bit of surface rust. I went ahead and put a little bit of that gel on it a little bit ago. I'm gonna see if I can just wipe it off now. Might put another coat on it. And same with the actual cap itself. So I'm gonna clean that off real quick and then see if it needs another coat there. And that's typical for these things. I actually restored another one, and I put new decals on it and everything, and it came out awesome. So, but this one looks like it was also restored because the decal on it is really clean. So that looks like a new decal there. For some reason, I tightened this, and then when I shift it, it loosens up. So I'm not really sure why it's doing that. So I'm gonna take a look at the one that I rebuilt. I'm gonna look in there and see how it's supposed to actually be connected back there. I'm afraid that there might be something that's not tightened back there. There's probably a second washer or second nut behind that one that maybe tightens it, because I can tighten it really good, and then as soon as I shift it, it acts like I've never even tightened it. So I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at this one, and then I'll be back tomorrow after work. It's shifting great otherwise. I got this thing set up so it's definitely going from first to fifth, no problem. But it just won't stick. It'll get up to that gear, and then it'll just start going backwards. So it'll shift back down. So let's see what's going on. So I took off the cover off mine, and first thing I noticed was, see that washer? I think that's missing there. So I think that's what's causing it to not stick. So I just got to get a washer for it, and should work. All right, well, I think we're ready to put her together. So I got all the rust off of that, so that's good. And I went ahead and got the rust off of this thing as well, because this thing's a little bit rusty at the bottom there. And check out, remember how dark that was with rust? So as you can see, the chrome loss is definitely there, but I got rid of all that rust. I might hit it with some primer just to keep that bare metal from being exposed to the element, and that'll keep it from rusting again. Shifting from first to fifth with no problem. I went ahead and lubed the chain a little bit and lubed all the pivots on the derailleur so it does move freely back and forth. So I'll go ahead and put the cap on it. I did go ahead and hit this with a little bit of a silver on it just to protect that post metal. Got all the cables back on, put the brake pads on, do a little test, make sure they're, yep, and then here's the drum brake. I kept the replacement rim on here, that's something great. I'm gonna work on the relacing of the rim that came on the bike, and I just wanna get this bike down and put away, and I'll do that relacing here this week or this weekend coming up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure the air is good, put her down, and see everything basically up to speed on it now. The only thing actually I just thought about, still waiting on the cue bolts. I forgot I hadn't got those yet. Again, these aren't tight on there yet. They're just on there to hold us up. Then I'll straighten out. Once I get the bolts in, I'll straighten out that reflector to be a little bit more parallel with the bars there. All right, she's safe inside now. And here's the rest of the crates. These, again, all been put together, but not actually done. Now, we're gonna go ahead and put the cod picker, we're gonna put it up against that area there to get out of the way. Check this out. 1960 Plymouth Fury 2-door, big fins. This is the most awesome car ever. I remember being a little kid sitting back there looking straight up to that big window, and those fins were just killer to sit back there as a little kid and see those fins follow you. But this 1960 had that mean looking grill on it. But this very cool. My dad's was actually more of a lighter blue. This is kind of a greenish blue. So his was the same color combo, except it was a lighter blue, so it looked really sweet. All right, well, here's where she's gonna wait. So I'll just park her here for now until I get my bolts and let it sit here safely. And at some point I will go ahead and redo the cables. These cables are brand new, so I hate to just replace them because of the shade of gray. They sell these cable sets for $90. You get all three. It's ridiculous, but so much they sell for. So can't wait to put those bolts on and take it out for a spin. Real excited about the shifter working perfectly now, getting through all gears. Brakes actually functioning. So it's a real bike now. Alright, well, I'll go ahead and got my spokes finally. And it appears that is the new set, and then this is the one that's on there now. And that's what I thought. See how they're too long? I think these spokes were almost the right size, but they were just a little too big. That's why, you know, they were just sticking out all over the place, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these on and see if it makes a difference. I'm sure it will. All right, and there's the long spokes. So I got the new ones on there. And without even truing it, it's already spinning better. So now just a matter of truing it. I'll put it on the truing stand. Right off the bat, it's, you know, before it was doing this back and forth. Spinning pretty true, nice and round. No major wobble. Still need to tweak it just a bit, but definitely better than it was before. And now it's centered from one side to the other. It's spinning how it should now. So I think that's good. So I'll put the tire on it and then tweak it out some more, because once the tire goes on, it also affects the way it spins. All right, got the tire mounted. Look at them spokes gleam. So that's 24 brand new spokes, new nipples. Thing is gleaming, so spinning pretty nice. Got a brand new tube in it, and this is that Reproduction Superior tire. So I'll go ahead and put this back on the bike since it's ready. All right, got the wheel back on, and got the drum brake set up. Perfect. It's a nice grab right there. Well, I finally got them. So those are the Q bolts that go on the saddles. I'm gonna clean them up a little bit. They're not in bad shape, but I can make them look better. All right. Now I'll go ahead and get the Q bolts out of the Evapco rust jar and get them mounted. Do some final adjustments, tighten stuff up here and there, and then we'll tweak it out. And then tomorrow morning I'll take it out. It'll be Sunday. Give me a chance to ride this bad boy out there. Hopefully it'll be a sunny day. Today was a cloudy day, but it didn't rain much. So hopefully it'll be nice. And a little bit of that Evapco rust for just a few minutes really brings out the original luster of that nickel plated. But that's what they are right there. Got the Q bolts on. And last thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and use my pedals that I bought for my 69 on here. Even though those look great, I'm gonna go ahead and change them out because just those are not the right pedals. And it's a shame too, because they look really clean. All right, so I went ahead and got the reflector on it. I went ahead and put it parallel with the bar. I did go ahead and put the actual authentic pedal that should go on there. I think it definitely, I'll just get another one for my other bike. There's a couple that I'm looking at online, and it definitely makes the bike complete, having the real pedal that came out in the early, you saw them on 68 through 70. All right, well, went ahead and detailed it a little bit. Went ahead and put it down and test it out, see how it runs. All right, so he's waiting for the floor to dry. I mopped it, finished the bike. Anyway, so she's done. And I'm gonna put her down here in a second once the floor dries and take her out for a spin, and then take some shots of it around the back as always to do all my bikes. All right, well, glad she's done. So again, this is a 1970 cotton picker, 2-year color. Bought this bike a couple of years ago, already restored. And as you heard on the video, it's more of a show bike versus a rider. So I was able to finally get it so everything is working, everything's functional, and now it's a rider. Very cool detail on these bikes. It's got the front drum brake, short fender, Springer fork. Went ahead and left those on there just to protect the frame until I come up with something that's going to be a little bit more, but pushing it around I could damage that paint. So it does have the original grips. Those are authentic cold dot brake levers, and these are replacement cables. And at some point I will go ahead and put the lighter gray ones, but for now she's going to sit like this. The shifter appears to be restored. The decals are way too clean. That might be original there, but these bikes had a really nice stance. That pedal looks really good. There's a set of these on sale. They're brand new in the box for $350 for best offer. I hate to spend that kind of money on pedals, so I've been trying to find the best ones. These I got for like $80, so I was really happy to find those. There's another set online that's about $89, but the caps are pretty beat up on it, so I don't think it's worth it. So again, this chrome on this bike is really good. Throughout the whole bike. All right, well, let's take her out for a spin and see how she rides. Looking forward to the ride. Haven't ridden this bike before. All right, let's take her out. Yeah, this Springer and the shock absorbers, they call it a floating ride, and it definitely feels that way. But at the same time, you feel like you're moving instead of being, you know, like on a hard tail. So it is something to get used to. So I'm sure kids probably had to get used to that floating effect. Let's go ahead and take it out and see how it is. Do it. Alright, so the only other crate I shot at here is my Gray Ghost. And I'll start bringing them back here as I finish them. So this is the first one that I've actually had a chance to tweak out and complete. Corrected all the parts that needed to be corrected, including the saddle, several bolts, and just made it functional. So Happy to see it be a rider now. So as a kid, anywhere from, I would say, starting as young as 9, 10, 11, 12 through 16, these were the bikes to have. Mag sprocket, drum brakes, Springer fork, 5-speed, shock absorbers, race leather tires. So for a kid, couldn't get much better than this. Sissy bar, banana seat, ape hangers, cool brakes. See if your neighbor's coming up now. Check out the bike. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.